Hello, hello, hello. I am so excited to be here with you today on my second episode of Discovering Your Brilliance. And today I have a very special guest. I have met Dr. Ward through the TCC conference, and then I was lucky enough to be on the board with him. But I'm going to read his bio and then bring him in and have a wonderful conversation about his coaching career and his upcoming offerings. So, to tell you a little bit more about Dr. Stanley Ward, he has over 10 years experience coaching leaders on conflict resolution, stress management, burnout prevention, and creating sustainable positive changes. Stan believes that when leaders who care about both relationships and results succeed, we all win. And he helps these leaders overcome obstacles and create opportunities both at home and at work. Dr. Ward holds a PhD in leadership studies, is a credentialed coach through the ICF, and has spoken at multiple International Leadership Association global conferences, authored How to Beat Burnout for Yourself, Your Family, and Your Team, and co-edited Ethical Leadership, a primer. In his free time, he likes to volunteer on multiple boards, practice Tai Chi, take his dog on walk, and strum his ukulele while singing with friends and family. And I have experienced that. It is quite a show. So without further ado, here is Dr. Ward.
Hi, Vanessa. Thank you. Yeah, I should have thought ahead
Hello.
and brought my ukulele today. Maybe next time.
Yeah, we could have had a little show. That would have been great.
Well,
In addition to everything I said, is there anything else you'd like to tell our audience about you and yourself, your
oh,
career?
what a gosh. Yeah, I would let them know that I don't really like long bios, so I'm good. Yeah, I think
Yeah. Yes,
uh
I feel
yeah.
like you can speak for yourself. I had the privilege of introducing you at one of the conferences at this last year conference, and this is the same thing that you said. But it was so nice because you had your friend there who just spoke wonderful things about you, and it was easy to introduce you because everybody knows what great work you do. Um, so thank you for supporting me and being on my podcast. I love talking to coaches. I love hearing about their journey. As you know, my
Mhm.
podcast is called Discovering Your Brilliance. So I'm curious if you can share a pivotal moment or experience in your life that kind of ignited your passion for personal development and self discovery.
Oh my goodness. What a lovely question. I remember in particular, so I was very involved, or I got involved in student council when I was in high school. And so I remember as a 16-year-old kid going to leadership camp, Oklahoma Association of Student Councils. And I was a sophomore in high school, had just finished the year. Vanessa, I think one of the reasons that I'm not necessarily into really long bios is, um, I know me. I'm like, yeah, I'm a nice guy, but I'm not necessarily like, ooh, look at all that. So, not all that in a bag of chips. And so I remember going to this camp and being elected president of the group at this camp and going, wow, maybe there's something in me that can lead people and impact people. And wow, man, I need to nurture that. Right. And so I
Yeah.
think there's still a little bit of that golly gee whiz in me that I'm trying to manage. I think sometimes it's helpful and sometimes it gets in the way.
Well, 16, I mean, that's a lot of self-awareness. I feel like my coaching journey has started over the last couple of years, and every year I learn more and more about myself, but I don't feel like I had that much awareness at 16 to be like, "Yes, this is my strength." That's amazing.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, old soul in a young body, I guess, as compared to old soul and middle aged body at this point. So
Well, that's awesome. So how do you define success personally? I mean, you have a lot in career of helping leaders
mhm.
in their pursuit of their leadership style and how to prevent burnout. But how do you personally define success and how has that like definition evolved over your journey?
So I love that question.
Mhm.
I am constantly two things. One, constantly telling my clients, especially those who are prone to burnout or really struggling in one way or another, this idea that, look, you've got to have clear success metrics. You've got to decide for you what success is because, especially now, and you go on LinkedIn, there's 50 million people succeeding in 50 million different ways. And it's so easy to just get lost in it. I'm not that. I'm not this. I can't do that. I can't do this. Oh gosh. Right.
Yeah.
And so you've identified really one of the key things I would say to anyone listening is please work to define those success metrics for yourself. And that is a constant journey for me. I don't like going on LinkedIn even today, because even though I've got this, that, and the other initial behind my name, and I've got this, that, and the other book I can add to my little resume, it's still I look and I go, yeah, but I don't have this, that, or other thing. And then I haven't accomplished this, that, or other thing. Or gosh, if I just taught at that university, I'd really be somebody. So with that admission, right? Um, a lot of it comes down to how are my relationships going in my family? And B, how am I impacting other people? And those are the things I kind of come back to over and over again.
I love that. Yeah, because it is so easy to start to compare yourself once you look online and like, "Oh man, if I only had known this," even like I just did at 16, where could I have been today? But everybody's journey is different. I love that at the conference this year, as I mentioned, we both were part of the Texas conference, Texas Coaches Coalition conference. And that message was shared so many times that everybody's journey to success and everybody's path to wherever they're going isn't a straight one. It's up and down, it's windy, but as long as you know for yourself where you want to go, it makes that a little easier to understand, even though that those comparisons can jump in all the time. What has kept you like how did you discover coaching and how have you continued to grow in your coaching career?
Good question. And I'm reflecting on your statement. I would encourage you to think every overnight success is 10 years in the making. So just kind of keep that
Yes.
perspective as you hear these stories. As far as my coaching career, so I went to do a PhD in leadership studies, not 100% sure of what I was going to do on the other side of it, thinking I wanted to be in higher education, not really sure how that was going to work. And toward the end of that program, I got connected with another woman in our program and she's just one of these amazing humans who she's kind of winding down her career. She's like, yeah, I'm going to turn 60. I'm going to retire soon. I think I'll get a PhD. I need something to do. One of those people.
Yeah.
And she kind of pulled me aside one day. She said, Stan, I think you've got the heart of a coach. Would you be interested in doing that kind of work? If I could maybe, because she was winding her career down, if I could maybe give you some opportunities to work with a couple people just to see what you think. And so that was 2011, and I've been doing some form of coaching ever since. And so that really started with doing 360 feedback in an organization, managing that process, and then from there, um, that's where I began to get connected with the International Coaching Federation, ICF. I wanted more skills, better skill set, and then, gosh, probably around 2017, 2018, I think is when I completed my ACC. And then actually, I'm excited because this summer I'm going to finish up my PCC training hours with our mutual friend Minna Brown in her program. Um,
Ah,
and
congratulations.
so yeah, thanks. I'm excited. So my hope is that, gosh, by September or so, I'll be a PCC. Part of that ACC decision was I was working full time. I was in higher education, and it was just exhausting to complete the 70 hours and get the 100 hours of coaching experience. So I was like, man, I'm done. I'm out. And decided I'll come back to the PCC another time. And so I'm up for my second renewal, and thought, well, I've got to do mentor coaching anyway. Maybe it's worth just going ahead and taking that next step and going for the PCC.
That's exciting. It was so funny. I got my ACC last year because that was my goal when I started coaching. I had found the International Coaching Federation and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do this." And when I got my ACC last year, my husband was like, "Oh, so you're done. Like you're there." And I was like started laughing. I was like, "No, this is like ring number 1 and maybe, someday I'll be a MCC, but I've just started. This is the beginning of this lifelong journey." Which you
Yeah,
also
I've
are
gotten
on.
off the step stool and I'm on the first rung of the big kid ladder. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, yes. Why has being part of the International Coaching Federation been important to you? Because we have coaches who come on and talk, and sometimes it's their path, and for others, it's not. What made that something that you wanted to pursue?
I keep catching myself saying, I'm glad you're asking this question. Um, I feel like, especially now, coaching is like the Wild West.
Yeah.
Anybody can stick coach on themselves as a title, and they can be selling complete snake oil. And that's no offense to snakes, right? So, um, for me, credentials are important not so much because they give a person status, but they're a way of just affirming, hey, this person's got some training, and hopefully, sort of in that spirit of do no harm, a credentialed person has the skills, if nothing else, to make sure they do no harm. And my fear,
Yeah.
especially with the coaching industry, is that a lot of stuff can be presented at coaching that is not going to be beneficial. Well intentioned, but may not be beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I felt like the legitimacy of it all too, especially for somebody who was making a career transition into coaching. I was like, well, I want people to know, like, I take this seriously. Like, I'm not just doing it for like glitz and glam. I want to be taken seriously and really help people in the best way. And I loved that the outline of the International Coaching Federation, and that, to your point, it's do no harm, but like support people in the best possible way, right? To have them
Yeah.
realize their unique brilliance and uniqueness. And so I have a question for you. What practices or strategies have you found most effective in helping the leaders that you work with unlock their
Mm.
unique brilliance and their potential?
So definitely the creating your own success metrics is part of it. Um, I so I typically do 6 month coaching programs with my one-on-one coaching, and then they can re up at the end of 6 months if they want. And we always start that with, what do you want your life to look like in 6 months, both personally and professionally? So the name of my coaching practice is influence coaching. I work on a lot of these influence skills, and they're going to show up both at work and home. So we start there. A lot of awareness about how folks may be hijacking themselves, derailing themselves. That's a big one. Um, helping people manage their nervous system. So just recognizing when that fight or flight is taking over, and where it may be taking you, as well as then a lot of skills on helping folks learn how to really collaborate. Um, so I deal with a lot of, again, conflict communication issues. And so just, I call it the two magic sentences. If nothing else, this idea of, okay, when you're stuck with somebody, two sentences will get you unstuck. If you can just be able to say, here's what I need from you. What do you need from me to make that happen? Or, what do you need from me? Okay, here's what I need from you to make that happen. If you can communicate that, you can get progress again.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And on that theme, you also support people with burnout. And I know you mentioned that you have a new course. Is it a new course that you are launching?
Yeah. Thank you for asking again. Thank you for asking. That's the title of the show is Thank You for Asking. Um, yeah, so I'm really excited. So again, about 2019, I was wrapping up a book, and this was right before COVID, on burnout, because I about 2017, 2018, when I did the ACC, I said I want to find a real focus for my coaching work. And as I thought about the people I really connected with, they care deeply, they work hard, and they're prone to burnout. And I work with a lot of folks who describe themselves as servant leaders, and if they're not careful, they can become martyr leaders, which is a little different. And so, because of all that, I've started doing some work in the burnout space. And so now, after those 6 years of work, I've come up with kind of a stop, start, continue program. That's a 9 week program. It's a 9 week process to help people really develop what I'm calling a new operating system. Because a lot of burnout really is about self-management. Part of my story is that in 2013, right after I finished my PhD, I ended up in the emergency room with mystery illness, blockage in my intestine. And that was the beginning of a 2-year season where I struggled to eat solid food. I had chronic bacterial overgrowth in my gut, chronic pain issues. I'm 6'1". I dropped down to 145 pounds. It just really rough, in and out of the hospital. And at the end of that 2 years, I was talking to my local doc about what might be some diet options. I mean, gosh, is this a food thing? What is this? And what caught my attention is he said, Stan, let's talk about quality of life for you. And again, quality usually is in opposition to quantity. So that caught my attention. That got me to the Mayo Clinic. And at Mayo, after 2 weeks of poking and prodding, they sat me down. They said, Mr. Ward, tell us how you're managing your stress.
Mm.
So that was the beginning of a personal journey that started in 2015, that then led to some coaching work and research in 2019, that now in 2024 has allowed me to launch an online program where in 6 weeks we can give you a new way of relating to stress so that you don't burn out.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I think that's so inspiring to hear. As a coach, everybody has a story, but I think it is the stories that move people to say, oh, I want to work with that person. Like they know what I've gone through and what I'm going through. And as you mentioned, so many people have the byproduct of the stress, but don't know what is causing that. Um, so Wow, what a gift that you're giving people to experience that because our bodies I'm really fascinated by neuroscience and how our brain works with our body, right? And it's so fascinating to me that this little thing right here, we don't give it enough credit, but it runs our entire body and can do things really crazy if we don't listen to our body. Like it's the one vessel that we get that we have to take care of. But not everybody always listens to the signs and the signals of what's going on. Um,
Yeah,
and yeah, and
for
then
me,
you
I was
get
in a
to the burnout.
season. Yeah, and I was in a season where stopping anything I was doing didn't feel like it was an option. I had multiple health issues in my family. Both my mom, my wife, and my oldest daughter. I mean, we're in and out of the emergency room for a variety of issues, as well as I was going to school, getting my PhD, as well as working full time, trying to pay the bills, and we had 2 daughters. So I really didn't have like I could quit something. And so what I managed to do is disconnect from my body. I'm kind of egg-headed. Someone's listening to this on podcast, you're not going to notice this beautiful bald uh, head of mine. I say it's because I'm thinking so much that just the heat has burned the hair off. Um, but essentially, I had just disconnected from the physical part of me, was just using all the brainy part of me. And as a result, it just kind of like, it's almost like just shut down, squeezed off my digestive system, just all the way down. The whole thing, even
Yeah.
today, my stomach, it's interesting, actually kind of struggles sometimes your stomach actually has to kind of relax in order to take food in. And I still kind of struggle with some mechanical things related to that today. Um, Thankfully, in
Yeah.
my 50s, with my metabolism where it is, it's not as big a threat as it was when I was in my 40s and more active.
Yeah. So for somebody who's listening right now and is like, "Yep, yep, yep, I'm there. I have a family to take care of. I have job. I have these responsibilities." Yeah, that program sounds nice, but I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time. What would you tell to that person who's listening and is like, "I don't have time for that."
Yeah. So a couple things. For me, I have wrestled over the years with this sense that self care is selfish. Because it just, when I grew up among rural, hardworking Oklahoma people, and so spa was something you made fun of, right? And so it's easy to associate that anything associated with self care is a luxury. What I had to learn is I'm not talking about self care. I'm talking about self maintenance. Look, I changed the oil in my car. I changed the tires on my car. I put gasoline in my car. Is my car selfish? No. My car hauls me. Sometimes my car hauls my family. My car is necessary for the full functioning of my career and family. So what I'm talking about is not just adding one more thing to your to-do list that's already overtasked. I'm talking about learning how to maintain yourself so you can keep up with that list. It's not
Yeah.
about doing more, it's about doing different. And I would say, and this is actually the first week of this 6-week course, is you've got to create your why statement. Because if you don't have a strong why, you won't do the work.
Right. And it's pretty I think it's so astonishing being in the work that we're in that people go through life not really understanding their why. They just do the next thing, check off the next box, move through it. And they don't know, why am I doing any of this until a huge life setback comes and then they're questioning everything. But I love what you're saying. It's kind of like a reboot of like, no, 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 no. Let's think about this in a different way so you can continue success and not face that big challenge that'll make you rethink your whole life or have to physically stop because your body says, "All right, you're not listening to me. Now we're dead."
Oh yeah, and it'll do it. So I compare the difference. One of the things we talk about too is the difference between burnout and worn out. Worn out is really like when you're driving your car and you run out of gasoline, you just kind of stutter and stop, and you can refuel and move back down the road. Burnout is more like when you run out of oil because you have that residual oil in the engine. It'll run a while, but the whole time it's running, guess what it's doing? Damage to itself. And that's actually what burnout does. By
Mhm.
definition, is about us no longer having the resources we need to maintain ourselves, and yet continuing to push ourselves forward by sheer willpower alone until eventually we do so much damage to ourselves that the system fails. That was my experience. Sheer willpower until the system fails.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the
And I love
first thing
that
I said to my wife, I gotta give you this. And you want a why statement? I mean, one of the first things I said to my wife after getting this diagnosis was, "I'm so sorry, I have not got enough life insurance."
Oh,
Okay, there's your why. You don't have that
yeah.
conversation.
No, yeah, exactly. That's a hard conversation to have, right? So, wow, 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 wow. And I love the analogy because for anybody who's listening, it's such a perfect one, right? I try and tell my kids all the time, your body's a machine, right? So you have to feed it good food so the machine runs well. If you don't feed it good food, it's not going to run well. But the car, it's such a great example, right? Take it outside of your own head, all right? How do you associate it and make it really, really work? Um, I have another question for you. What advice would you give somebody who is, similar lane that we're talking about? Kind of like, oh gosh, all right, now I know self-care is important. And they're trying to embark on this self-discovery journey, trying to figure out where their passion is. What's their purpose? How do I maintain or sustain success? What would you tell that person, or what advice could you give to somebody who's there?
Run small experiments. And here's what I mean by that. Um, One of my concerns about the era we're in our self-awareness is it can get so self-reflective, self-directed that it sort of spirals into an unhealthy place until you get to kind of analysis paralysis. So for folks who are wanting to do this journey and have more self-discovery, uh, it's about thought and action together. So create some goal. I want to learn X about myself, or I want to develop the skill to play the ukulele, or whatever. Right? Develop the goal. Figure out one small action that'll get you one step closer to the goal. Take the action, and then rather than going, "Well, that succeeded or failed," just go, "What did I learn?"
Curiosity.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It really is a superpower, and it gets us out of that fight or flight state, which again is what gets us into that negative spin that leads to burnout. Because when we're in fight, flight, or freeze, by definition, we're not doing rest, digestion, and healing.
Yeah. Yeah. That is, I mean, I know you said you're a parent, and that's the space that I am right now. When I lose my cool, I'm constantly like, "Ah,
Yeah,
all
and
right,
it's going to
Vanessa,
happen.
don't." Yeah. What can you
It
learn
is.
about yourself?
It's hard.
Yeah.
Let's not kid ourselves. That parenting journey is hard in the early years. Gosh, the lack of sleep and just, oh my goodness. They don't put this in the pamphlet, and there's a reason because then there would be no babies. Um, and there's a point to that, and it just left. So, okay,
No,
I
I would
shouldn't have
say,
mentioned
I
the
mean, the
pamphlet. I
point
got
you
me
made
distracted.
me think is life is hard too, right? I think
Oh yeah,
I constantly am like, nobody ever told me life in adulting was this hard. You have to figure all these things out. And even if you had great parents, they don't tell you all the details, right? That you have to figure out on your own. And learning and discovering more about yourself has been the key to success, and approaching life with that curiosity of like, okay, what else can I learn? How can I tweak this? How can I experiment with this just to make it better and better and better? um, it's such a great way to approach it, but nobody says how hard it is, right? And figuring it all out is hard.
beware rumination as a parent. The beating myself up for things I did in the past that I can't change, worrying about things in the future I can't control.
Yeah.
I have spent
Yeah.
so much time uh, doubting myself as a dad. I wasted a lot of energy in that space because my sweet daughters have told me, "Dad, you're great. Dad, we love you.
Huh.
Dad, we
Yeah.
know you didn't necessarily have all the tool examples that the dads may have had. Dad, we love you. We know you're doing the best you can." And to be able to receive that is huge. And I think that's
Yeah.
possible when we do take on that growth mindset of saying, "Okay, not yet. I'm not hitting my dad's success metrics completely yet. I may never, but that's the nice thing about aspirational goals that keeps moving forward."
Yeah. Yeah. And I dare say that anybody who signs up with your program will be learning some of those skills to add to their toolbox to continue to grow towards the best version of themselves. So tell me, how can people sign up, connect with you, learn more about you?
Yeah, so the easiest way to connect would be coachingforinfluence.com, coachingforinfluence.com. And yeah, I didn't really think about how long that was when I got that website. We're working on that. But influence coaching is my business. Coachingforinfluence.com is the website. There I've got a blog, a lot of free resources. If you're interested in the course, I would encourage you really just reach out and I can give you a sign up link. Do you guys have show notes? Yeah,
Yep,
so I can
I
give you
will
a
add
sign up.
them.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'll have a link there in the show notes. I'm actually running early bird specials right now. So if this sounds interesting, this would be a great
Ooh.
time to sign up. And it would also get you in an email chain to get you some introductory information. So uh, I'm excited about this. I've been in online education for a university, and it's fun to kind of be doing something similar in this different space.
Yeah, yeah. What a gift. Thank you so much for sharing today. It was such a pleasure learning more about you and having this conversation. Is there any parting words you'd like to say to anybody listening?
Several years ago, a friend gave me some good advice on self maintenance. He said, every day, do something meaningful, do something necessary, do something fun. When we do something meaningful, it helps with purpose. When we do something necessary, it just helps us get stuff done. And when we do something fun, it puts gas back in the tank.
Oh, I love that. I'm taking that with me. That's a good one.
Good.
Thank you so much, Stan. I'll make sure that everybody knows how to stay connected with you and sign up for your course. Best of luck on your course. I hope it goes so well. I know that you will be able to help so many people in this necessary work. So thank you for the work that you put out into the world.
Yeah. Vanessa, thanks for the opportunity to chat. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, this has been great. Take care.
Take care.